It might be too little, it might be too late. But here I am. Standing, sitting, swaying side to side, pacing, running around in circles. Staring at your phone, tablet, or other mobile form of entertainment device. Anything to distract yourself from the fact it's not yet time to do whatever it is you need to do. One of the most tedious aspects of the human condition must have to be how much waiting is involved in our limited lives. We don't have very long on this rock, all things considered, but we still spend huge portions of it in a state of waiting, in one form or another. You might be locomoting from A to B, for whichever reason, in whatever fashion. Waiting to get from your home to your workplace. Waiting for a bus to pick you up. Waiting for an Uber, or Lyft, or carpool. Planes, trains, and automobiles, oh my! The society that we've created for ourselves requires us all to wait on one another based on the other's schedule, so we can try to be as productive as possible. Which isn't saying much when you consider how every bus or plane ever seemed to be rarely on time. Even for some doctor's appointments, they'll often ask you to come earlier than you're scheduled, and you'll go in later than when you were meant to. What can really sometimes irk me are those situations where you can be punished for being late, but the person who's able to punish you won't face any consequences themselves if they were late. You're not allowed to make them wait, but they can make you wait all they want. Like, remember when you'd miss the school bus, and you had to hoof your buns to try and get there on time, or your parents had to drive you? You'd end up like 5 minutes late, and you get chewed out! But then the same teacher the next day are a half hour late because traffic. Yet they still come in with their Starbucks, or Timmy's, shout out to Canucks, and they just expect you to brush it off. Like, yeah, whatever. Rules for me and not for thee. It's not like we're meant to be out here trying to get an education or something, but that's just the way it goes, isn't it? If you miss your plane, you have to pay to rebook. If the plane is canceled, they don't give you the money back in a free plane ride. I know that wouldn't be very economic for the company, but it sure feels like a kick in the pants. As the digital age progresses further and faster, the need to wait has been diminishing in some ways. Lots of things are much faster to acquire than they used to be. None of that 8 to 6 weeks for shipping garbage. If you're in the USA and you got Prime, you can even get your stuff sent to you the same gosh darn day you ordered it. Also, internet speeds have been getting better overall. Not widespread enough fast enough, but something is better than nothing. Barely anyone use dial-up internet anymore, unless you're far out in the country and have no choice in the matter. So the long waiting times we experienced in childhood would seem like a fever nightmare to most people these days. Unless the Google DNS is acting up. Isn't that funny when you're kinda connected to the internet, but not really? You can access some stuff at a real slow rate, but other things just don't work. Sometimes in those situations, I'll see pictures load like they used to back in the day, line by line. I imagine there must be some people who still have to let a video buffer before they can let it play, but that would seem like caveman technology to the average user these days, no doubt. Even with that beefy big boy gigabit internet, you'll find yourself waiting for those 99 plus gigabyte downloads. Granted, having the literal best available fiber optic will only make it take like 15 minutes. You'd basically have to live on a backbone, though. If there are people who have systems capable of handling a game, but they have like Mud Hut internet, do they just have to let that download for like a week? Dial-up caps at 56 kilobytes per second, and that's not even realistic. At 250 kilobytes a second, it'd take 4.5 days to download 99 gigabytes. Even at 1 megabyte per second, which isn't the worst speed ever, it'd still take over a whole frickin' day. Quick maths. Even as things get better and faster, they still seem to get worse and slower. You have to be on the bleeding edge. The more you can pay, the less you have to wait. Real life, the ultimate freemium game. Which it really feels like it's become, especially in the last few years. PC parts stopped acting how they had for years. Normally, you could just wait a year or two for the price to drop by a few hundred. Then the great mining age happened. They bought up all the 10 series and beyond. So all the highest end card prices weren't going down. they're still barely going down. If you want a 10 series that hasn't had the ever-loving crap mined out of it and has been refurbished, people are selling them for about $1,000 in moose bucks. The flagship from 2 releases ago shouldn't still be running normal flagship prices. This waiting game has been insane. Jesus tapped Dancing Murphy on a tricycle. While looking at some of the insane prices people are trying to get for cards, I found this. Look at this. Look at it. Go on. Look. Look how much they want for a refurbished card with only 3 gigs of VRAM, not even a 4 gig card. It's a goddamn 7 series. Consider my jimmies rustled. What the heck happened to consumer grade and enthusiast grade? I know AMD have been killing it as far as performance goes on their newer products like the Threadrippers, but they have a track record of dropping support after like 2 years, at least in my experience. Maybe that's not true anymore and I'm an idiot. But Nvidia are still updating some of their oldest ass cards. I had a friend using a 5 series for a long time, and he was still getting updates. I myself was using a 7 series for a hell of a long time. It was fairly new when I bought it. I upgraded to basically the 9 series version of the card. Well, not basically, it was. It's the exact same stats almost. There was almost no tangible upgrade. It had slightly faster RAM, but otherwise the same stats. But the cost difference from the cards, if I were to try to buy them? Like $200. What the actual fuck is happening? And what are Nvidia doing? The same make and model for the series above should feel like an upgrade going to the series above. Should it not? Like, they're dragging their feet, and it feels like some kind of crazy wombo combo that happened from the Veronasaurus and the crypto explosion that's just really jacked the prices of PC parts, especially GPUs. And now, just like with the RTXs or the PS5s or even Amiibos, companies just don't give a damn about their consumers anymore. They don't care if you get the product as much as they care about selling 100% of their stock, so that way their shareholders can fill their cups. It took months for Nvidia to put a limit per address on their cards, so miners couldn't just swoop them all up with bots when they were dropped more inventory. Just like the scalpers who are grabbing all the PlayStations and Xboxes. Best Buys here in Canada finally put a 1 purchase limit on them. They must be less demand for the Xbox, since scalpers only seem to be trying to raise the price on them by like 20%, and not 100% like the PS5s still are. Remember when we all laughed at them? And thought they'd be sitting there with their PUDs in one hand and a pile of worthless plastic in the other? But then instead of increasing production to meet demands, Sony just goes, "I like money!" And now you have to wait and get lucky, or pay out the nose. Are there even any goddamn games for the consoles yet? Oh, the new Ratchet and Clank, you got me there. I loved those games as a kid, and I still love them when I went back and played them as an adult. Never bothered with the reboot, and that might have been for the best from what I hear. But on Xbox, Ass Creed, Halo, personally, the only thing I could care about on the Series X is Scorn. And who knows if we'll ever actually get to see that bad boy. And you could still just get it on Steam if we do ever get it. So far the only reason I can see to want a PS5 or a Series X right this moment instead of eventually in the future are nostalgia or waiting and seeing, at best. I feel like we've actually gone away from the age of just wanting better and better graphics, at least for some consumers. We seem to finally be at this point where, for some people at least, the graphics don't matter at all, as long as you have something entertaining enough as a base. I feel like graphics should be there to enhance the game, not be the main draw. That might just be a reflection of the types of games the general consumer market are able to actually play on their devices, or that might just be my opinion. However, I think Minecraft is a good example where graphics aren't everything, but if you have a beast rig, you can also make it be really graphically heavy with texture packs and ray tracing and lighting filters. To be fair, the more modern Minecraft becomes, the more hardware it requires to run, especially if you play mod packs. At some point, it was a matter of waiting for the code to get optimized, like when Botania first launched as a squirting laggy mess. Only streamers with their rigs and rigged servers were able to show us what actually happened in the mod. But unlike other games, who once they've gone through the ringer and come out the other side eventually are able to be played on hardware lower than what they initially expected to be able to, you can't wait and hope for Minecraft to work better on your current setup. I got a little sidetracked there, but I think the final point of waiting that really crisps my bacon backtracks to freemium games. Making a whole game about waiting and allowing someone to pay money to not have to wait? It's diabolically evil and genius, playing on the weakest of people who have the least amount of self-control. Due to how commonplace it is in Eastern markets, and with them having so many more people than the West, it's starting to influence how our market and how our products are made, and it's only going to become more common. Apparently, in most Asian cultures, from what I've seen other dudes on the tubes talk about, they have a nearly opposite view of it as we do, or at least how I do. In my opinion, if I spend 200 hours on a game, no one should be able to log on and spend X dollars to acquire equal or better things than I spent my time for. The Eastern market believes they should be able to come on and spend their money that they earned to be better than someone who just plays a game a lot. I can almost understand that logic, but it's so counterintuitive to the idea of skill-based gameplay that it rocks my socks a little bit. Newscape seems to have taken that approach. There's a $sign attached to a max cape. Even in old school RuneScape, you can sell bonds for cash. That won't let you just do anything. You still have to grind the skills, but it's a lot less effort than the people who play. You can get a lot more bang for your buck if you're willing to do the illegal real-world trading too. On a certain level, it makes sense. Most people have jobs and things to do, but a lot of people also don't. In order to make a game, no-lifers have content to do, but a wage slave can still feel like their time put into the game is getting something back, must be an insane balancing act. That's somewhat the logic behind Newscape's Double XP weekends, or any game who incorporate that, to give people who only play on the weekends a feeling of being able to catch up. It seems like the only other way you can try to stop the no-lifers is with weekly or daily currency limits and other gates that stop you from being able to play the game if you play the game too much. It's just a damn shame how many people are willing to pay to not play a game, especially if the entire point of the game is waiting. Imagine if these kinds of incentives started popping up in other styles of games you wouldn't expect them. I used to play Combat Arms when I was real young, and I'm pretty sure right when I was about finished playing the game, they basically added wall hacks that you could buy legit in the game. Imagine being able to spend money to get a head start on Warzone to already load in with a specific gun or some shit, let alone actual hacks, so people who don't play the game but want to experience a win can just pay for it. So what about you? What do you hate waiting for? What kind of technologies have lessened wait time that make you happy? Do you think the pandemic showed it's possible to live a much more wireless and contact-free life than we expected? Or are you just sick of waiting to be able to go outside and live normally again? Hey everybody! Thanks so much for tuning into my second video. Now please enjoy the best outro you've ever heard.